Sunday marks 45 years since Mount St. Helens erupted. 57 people died. To this day, it is still the deadliest volcanic eruption in U.S. history.
We're looking right into the crater now.
Yeah, we're looking right into an area that used to be under thousands of feet of rock.
That blast at Mount St. Helens cost an estimated $1 billion in damage. The first sign of an eruption was actually recorded on March 20th of 1980, about 2 months earlier, when a magnitude 4.2 earthquake caused avalanches on part of the volcano. Joining us tonight, Steve Malone, the seismologist who was the first to report that earthquake at the mountain. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time tonight. So, Steve, just tell us, when you recorded that initial earthquake, this is 2 months before the volcano blew, did you suspect, have any inkling of what might be coming?
No, certainly not right off. It was an unusual event, and so it definitely got our attention, and we started installing additional seismic stations near the mountain. And within a few days, the earthquake started increasing. Becoming more and bigger, and it was very stressful, exciting, but very stressful at that time.
So you were monitoring the mountain for the 2 months leading up to the eruption.
That's correct. Yeah.
And they kept getting bigger, the readings, but the day that it happened.
Well, back up a little bit, because the first actual eruption took place 1 week after the first earthquake. A small sort of steam explosion that got everyone's attention. There's dirt in the air now.
Did you think that was it?
Well, at first I thought, oh, that's all. But the seismicity continued, the earthquakes kept coming, and shortly thereafter, the geologists could see that actually a bulge, the mountain was deforming. It was changing its shape and oversteepening on the north side.
So
and that
signs.
raised some additional concerns.
Take us back, Steve, to that day that it happened.
Well, May 18 was a nice Sunday morning, blue skies and everything. I was sitting at home eating breakfast, and I got a phone call from the student I had sort of monitoring the seismic data all night. He said, "Steve, there's a big event occurring. It's still going on now." So I jumped on my bicycle and rode into the lab, and probably the sound or the airwave from that eruption went by Seattle while I was on my way in, because by the time I got there, the phones were ringing and people said, oh, there's a really huge eruption taking place. And we had hoped that our seismic data would give us sort of that, what I call socially useful warning of hours to a day or so. We'd had 2 months of warning, but that's almost too long. People were becoming complacent almost, or at least sort of used to that happening. There was no change in the earthquake activity in the hours or a day ahead of time. They were still going on, and then all of a sudden, one caused the north side of the mountain to fail. That released this huge cloud out to the north. The rest is history.
Mother Nature is quite incredible. When it blew, and I mean, those of us who were here during that time, just the ash and the lava and the smoke and the destruction and the mountainside. I mean, just as a seismologist, had you ever seen anything like this?
No, I had very minor experience with volcanoes at all, and certainly nothing on that level. So it was, I was learning as everyone else went along. I think it was go as fast as you can to figure out what's going on, and you still couldn't really tell.
You spent the next 6 years monitoring the mountain. Now, 45 years later, as you reflect back, what did we learn?
Well, we learned a lot, and I say we by the general community, the geologists, the geodesists, gas chemists, petrologists, etc. That the main thing that takes away with me is that sometimes the worst case scenario can be exceeded. It was worse than anybody sort of thought could happen. And I wasn't a volcano hazards expert, but listening to them and sort of putting together what might happen, mostly based on the geology of what had happened in the geologic past, this was bigger, different.
Wow, that's extraordinary. that it could be beyond what you think would be the worst possible scenario, and
Yeah.
that's what this was.
Yeah, and that's sort of a lesson for all of us. You know, it can actually get worse than you think.
Well, we are so grateful to have you here because you're sort of part of that history, recording that history, and we're there and very much a part of it as it was happening. Steve Malone, thank you, a privilege.
Well, you're very welcome.
Appreciate
Good.
it.